Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Haunted Vermont podcast. My name is Paul Doski, and joining us is possibly three special guests, but right now we got two, and you may have seen their work and their projects all over the social media when it comes to either the news or this and that, and like it's just everywhere. And you know what? We first kind of heard about it from the Andrea and Kyle Miller episode of Champ Day. But anyway, without further ado, because this is not always about me, but and I hate talking forever, and that is Richard Rossi and Kelly Tabor. So
Yes.
welcome aboard.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Thank you very much, Paul. We're elated to be with you today.
Hey, no problem. And I appreciate the quick reply for jumping on this and talking Champ and your project and everything mysterious, I guess.
For your interest, your show's great. I love how you explore all kind of paranormal, interesting things on your show.
Well, ever since I had my own, it's just like, what is going out? What's going on? Like we're never gonna really know the answers until, unfortunately, our time comes, really, and then we'll know. But I mean, if we can somehow figure it out before then, to really understand the universe, then that would open a whole new ball game for looking at everything, really. And then speaking of looking at everything. So Richard and Kelly, so I'm trying to figure out who this question should belong to, but like, so how did the idea come from? Because when I first heard about this, that you're doing like a book and a movie for Lucy and the Wake Monster, as the title goes, is first thing that I was thinking of. So was this like an inspiration from like the old movie for children called Nessie and Me?
Yeah, I grew up on the shores of Lake Champlain, and growing up, I always heard stories about Champ, and
Hmm.
so it just was very interesting to me. My dad, my family had a cabin on Lake Champlain, and so whenever I spent my summers there, I was boating, fishing, swimming. I was always on the lookout because I've even had family members that have seen him. I've had stories from my dad had friends who had seen him or her, whatever it is. And so I was just always interested. So my eyes have always been scanning the lake ever since I was, knee high to a grasshopper, tall. And, so later on in life, I continued, I moved away, and every time I come back to the area, even this morning, I was up in the Port Henry area, and on my way back to Crown Point, I was looking again, hoping to catch a glimpse. And I became a school teacher after I graduated college, and so I'm known as a little storyteller with my students, and they always loved my stories. And so I began telling them about Champ. It was always really interesting to them, and they were on the edge of their seats. How little kids are, 9 and 10-year-olds, and they were all excited and wanted to know everything I knew, and they were just very interested. So every year would come and go, and I would always tell the next class and the next class. And so now, after 30 years of teaching, I've got students that still mention my Champ stories, or they come back and say, I miss your stories so much.
I had never heard of Champ. I learned about it from Kelly, and I was in a play in Los Angeles here. I was one of the lead actors in a musical based on Alice in Wonderland, and I played Lewis Carroll, whose real name was Reverend Charles Dodson. And in the play, I was a narrator as well as I acted out some of the comedic characters. And I had a desire doing that play. I thought, what a wonderful classic that Lewis Carroll wrote, and it became 2 Alice books. I thought it'd be so beautiful to create a film, a story for children, but I just wasn't sure exactly what the story would be, but something that would work like Alice in Wonderland for children, but also hopefully be well-written literature that would have allegory meanings, symbolic meanings that adults would like too. And that was a bucket list prayer and desire. And then Kelly and I have been friends nearly 4 decades. Her Champ stories as oral tradition, telling students, were just so popular. And I thought, this is probably something, if I could discipline myself to really work on this and really write it and film it with her, it could be a tremendous children's classic, hopefully. And I saw Champ as like an allegory for other things, like God, for example. Like in our story, Lucy has a pure heart. She believes Champ is good, that Champ is a good creature. But then there's some, well, spoiler alert, some bad guys in the story that see Champ as like an evil monster, because I noticed in religion that like some televangelists will portray God as really scary and mean and wants to damn everyone to hell, and then, by the way, can give me your money so you won't go to hell. And then there's pure-hearted spiritual people that see God as a good God and a loving God. So I saw the story as it could be an archetype and symbol for many other spiritual questions. And so we put our creative minds together.
And presto. We're still putting our minds together.
Well, it sounds like a good atmosphere and everything else. So, like, you just brought it up, Richard, that you've known Kelly here for like 4 decades. So, how did you two even meet?
I went to Liberty University back in the 80s, and anyways, I had heard of, some friends of mine told me of this guy on campus, and I had heard of this guy on campus, Rich Rossi. You know, he was well known among all the students at Liberty back then. He used to perform. He plays guitar, and so he used to lead with his friend in chapels and playing music and singing, and you know, very talented. And he was looked up to and respected by his peers. And so I heard of a Bible study, like a praise and worship kind of thing that he was doing at his home on Friday nights. And so I wanted to be there, you know. And so once I went, I never missed after that. And so that's how we met, me going with a bunch of college students on Friday nights. And, you know, they were some of the best times I've had looking back at my college experiences were those Friday nights. They were awesome, very good times. And so...
And it's interesting also because the group that I was leading it by accident, really. I wasn't trying to start a group. It just kind of happened. You know, a baseball player friend of mine and I would just meet, him and I, and then he told a few people and who told a few people, and then all of a sudden we had this large group of people. He was Kelly's softball coach. Kelly was a really great athlete and softball player. But the interesting thing with the Champ connection is the reason our group was popular was I was trying to teach an approach to the spiritual life that was, you know, based on love and a more loving concept of God, because the school we were attending was very legalistic, very rigid religion, and very hellfire brimstone. They had all these rules that were, you know, you can't go to movie theaters. It's a terrible sin if you go see a movie at a movie theater. You have to have short hair, and I got written up with demerits because my hair touched my collar, and the women had to have long dresses, and, you know, Kelly got written up because one time she was in her softball uniform walking on campus rather than in a dress. I mean, it was like a cultish almost control. And so the Champ story, like, to me, is an allegory for some of the issues that brought our friendship together in the beginning, which was we were challenging these concepts of God being this monster that wants to control us versus God being a loving God. And so in the story, that's one of the core questions of the Champ story, that Lucy and the Lake Monster, is, you know, childlike faith and Lucy's love for Champ and seeing Champ as her best friend.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect masterpiece to form into a nice little story, for sure. And, like, you know, that's the thing, right? Like, it almost sounds like you're trying to bring, like, that old childhood type of stories back anyway. Like I mentioned Nessie and Me, and another different type of cryptid movie that we all know and love, I would assume, is like Harry and the Hendersons, you know? Like, it's, you know, it's not like Lucy would be able to bring Champ into her home to hide from everybody, but I mean, that's a whole different story. I mean, I don't think Champ would fit in a bathtub anyway, but I mean, I don't know. But
yeah. Well, that's funny because I love the Sasquatch connection also, and I've had friends that have been Bigfoot hunters, and all these type of things are so fascinating. Now, Kelly does, growing up there, have firsthand encounters with a Champ sighting, so she has the direct kind of eyewitness connection. Also, one of her family members her great uncle Bob is one of the names on the sign. As you know, there's a eyewitness sign in Beluga Bay there that has there's been over 300 eyewitnesses, but one of the names on the sign, Robert Bly, is Kelly's great uncle who saw Champ, and he had a popular restaurant that a lot of people hung out at to watch for Champ on the lake there. It was called Captain Bly's. But so I don't know if you'd want to share, Kelly. You have your eyewitness account as well as your great uncle, as well as I think
yes,
your father or your grandfather had also seen him. So you have a bunch of eyewitness accounts.
My grandfather had seen Champ. Apparently, he worked in the mines in Mineville. And so he used to carpool with some other people on the way up there in the mornings. And when they were going through the rock cuts on the way to Port Henry, the water's kind of close to the road right there. And they saw something at first they thought was an overturned boat. But when they looked closer, they realized this isn't just an overturned boat. They believed that it was the Champ that they saw. But a lot of people didn't hear about it back then because they didn't have cell phones. It was like a slow word of mouth because word just didn't travel that fast. A lot of people didn't have cars. Some of them drove tractors here and there, and so you didn't hear about it, the sightings as much back then. But as time went on, and my father's siblings grew up, we had another uncle who happened to be on the roof of his camp that was on the lake, and he was repairing it, and he noticed it surface out in the bay. And he just didn't watch it. And you see, too, back then, if anybody saw things, sometimes they didn't say anything because people would kind of make fun and laugh like, oh, that's not true. But as more and more sightings took place, it became more real to people that, hey, there is something lurking in the waters of this lake. It's never harmed anybody. Usually it's kind of skittish. It'll stay up and then just kind of do its own thing and go, but it doesn't appear very often. I've had 2 other cousins that have seen it. And then I believe I saw the effects of Champ before. I was with some friends of mine and some family members my dad had a cabin, like I said, and we were on the front porch. And it was a day where the water was like glass. There wasn't a ripple on it. Well, all of a sudden there was a stirring that was maybe around 40 yards out from the cabin in the water, and we all looked like, oh my goodness, what is that? Because it was a big stirring, and then there was a big wake, a V-shaped wake coming directly at our camp. And so my dad always had binoculars there hanging on a nail, and then my friend had her camera up ready to snap the picture, and I just watched and watched, waiting for it, because automatically I thought, oh my gosh, this has to be Champ. But it came straight at us, and the wake was probably, I would say, 1 or 2 inches. So it was a pretty big wake, but it didn't go up and down or side to side. It just came directly to us. And then it made like a 90-degree turn and went along the rocks to the next point. And it never came up out of the water. And like, I kept watching thinking, please come up, please come up. But like, I'm thinking, what kind of animal in Lake Champlain goes in a straight line, doesn't go side to side? Like a fishtail would go side to side. It didn't go up and down either. It just came straight. There wasn't anything behind the wake. It was just the wake, a big one. And of course the water's murky, so you can't see down into the water like underneath. What is it? It's not clear. So I don't know. I want to believe that it was the effect of Champ that I saw. But we were all excited. And my dad, he's in his 80s now. He said, all my years on this lake, he's looked for it too. He said, I've never in my life seen anything like that before. And so we believe that it could have been the effects of Champ. And, if it's big, I don't know how deep the water is through that area. It could have been walking along the bottom. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if I just don't know. I'm not saying it has legs and walks, but what I'm saying is just kind of going along the bottom, and part of it was up near the surface maybe. I'm not sure. But that's my encounter, which was pretty exciting, even though it didn't surface completely. In my imagination, I think it may have been Champ.
Wow. Now, how far out did you say you were probably when this thing that was coming straight at you,
Well, I don't know, maybe maybe 20. I really don't know. It wasn't like half the size of a football field. It would have been probably a quarter of a football field, maybe 25 yards or so. And there were, let's see, I think there were 6 of us on the front porch of the camp that all saw it at the same time. My dad always had a nail that he kept, and he always kept binoculars hanging because it was common for us just to pick up the binoculars and look out in the lake. But
yeah, and the fact there were 6 you've seen, it adds more credibility, because one person you could say, well, they were hallucinating, or there was something wrong in their perception, or whatever. But when you have 6 people, like a group hallucination is a lot less likely. If you have 6 people seeing something, then they were seeing something, right?
Yeah, our eyes, we were glued right on it. We were all like just waiting, like, oh my gosh, what is this? What is it? It's coming right at us. It's coming, because it came at a steady speed. It didn't stop and go, stop and go. It was like a little motor just going right along real smooth, which made it so unusual. But all of us talked about it afterwards, like, oh my gosh, we think we saw the effects of Champ. We were so excited. And of course, my friend wanted to get the $1 million shot, the best shot anybody's ever got with a camera. And of course, it didn't come up, so we didn't get a good picture, of course.
Well, that's part of Lucy's quest in our story, Paul, is that she is seeking the best picture ever. Because to this date, the Sandra Mansi photo is from the 70s. I think it was it 77 or so. It's considered the best picture at this point.
That's the one where like we get the hump and then the neck is also straight out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's up and kind of turned a little. It's on our website.
Yeah, Sandra
the Champ
Mansi
website.
Was on a picnic with her family, and she had some sort of old Polaroid. And she got that photo, and that photo's gone all over the place. I think it was 1977, and she seems like a really sincere person. I mean, I've known people that she's passed away, I believe, but I know our late friend Scott Martis, who was a primary researcher of Champ, had talked to her children, and they all recalled being there at the picnic and seeing it as well. And also, I knew people through church circles. I was involved with, that knew Sandra, and she was, a really kind of credible Christian woman. She, she took this iconic photo. It's kind of almost like the Patterson footage with Bigfoot that became the iconic, footage that everyone remembers the most.
Oh yes. So him walking in the woods.
Yeah, with the arms and the kind of hanging down, and then they believe it's a female Bigfoot because of the breasts, and then the Bigfoot kind of looks over for a moment, and it starts off real jittery, real shaky. But
yeah, when you say that, I picture Will in the movie Elf.
Will Ferrell,
there's a scene when he's acting like Bigfoot there in the woods. Well, a snapshot. He's got the same stance as Bigfoot did.
That's funny. Yeah, that's a good movie too. Not to go off topic, but yeah, that picture has always fascinated me. The one that we were just talking about. It's funny because when I was little, I was like, "This can't be real." But now that I've like matured a little bit to kind of like go to take a step into the realm of the unknown, I will say, it does bring back the skeptic and like the curiosity all at the same time. It's like, well, could somebody have made this and just put it in the water? But it's just one of those things where it's like, well, what type of technology did we even have back in 1977? Because it was some sort of robotic machine. We already know that the water, especially of Lake Champlain, it would have rusted the gears and everything, and it wouldn't have even stayed afloat. So even trying to predict how this machine, or whatever you want to like think of it as, is like that. This adds a whole new credibility of, well, like how much stuff would they need to make it unsinkable as well.
Mhm.
Well, it's really great you have both sides, Paul, because I relate to that. I have the right brain, kind of intuitive, childlike side in my mind that has faith and, is interested in spiritual and paranormal things, but then I also have that left brain kind of logical, critical thinking side. And so I think it's important to have both because, in our society today, is a lot of propaganda and things on social media and things that aren't true, and people that lack the left brain critical thinking side, they'll just fall for anything. They fall for all kind of crazy, nutty things they find online. But if you're just all left brain and you have no imagination or childlike openness to something new or paranormal, then you're cut off from a lot of life as well. In fact, that's one of the messages in the book is Papa, I'll be playing Papa, the grandfather of Lucy in the film. He talks with Lucy and says the things you can't see are sometimes the most real things, like love and magic and poetry. And, so having the balance of the two is important because we have to think critically and look for evidence and not just believe something based on what's called anecdotal evidence, which is just someone telling a story. The story could be true, but it's always good to look and see if there's evidence that supports the stories too.
I like that. Yeah, and that was actually, now that you said that, Richard, that was actually a question I was going to ask you. Like, was there a difference between the book and the film? And I think you basically kind of covered that. But, because I was almost wondering, like, were you trying to make the book almost like, how books are nowadays? They try to match the movie, or they try to make it like the continuation, or maybe like the prequel. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's interesting you asked that because Kelly and I were just discussing this because we're both going to be at Champ Day on August 6th, and we'd like to have the first edition of the book ready by then, and we hope to have it. But at the same time, the film will, as we shoot this summer, we finished the novel, we're just editing it, but as we shoot the film, we'll discover things in that creative process that could be enhancing to the book. So I suggested to Kelly, I don't know if we'll do this for sure, that we could have maybe a first edition book and hopefully have it ready for the Champ Day to be there and sign it for people. But we could have, after the film comes out, a second edition of the book, like a movie version that has a lot of stills from the actual film, and also would possibly have, sometimes through improvisation, we may create some scenes that aren't in the first edition of the book, and we could have the script from the film as well as the novel. So I was thinking maybe if an enhanced second edition could come out in a year or so when the film comes out, but we could have the first edition of the novel itself in more simple form, perhaps ready for Champ Day. So it's an interesting question you ask because we've been thinking about the same thing, the same questions about the book and the film and their relationship to one another. Now, a novel can get more in the heads of the characters, so there's more of the thoughts and the memories and the inner dialogue for Papa and Lucy than in a film is more visual. So I think in the film we'll show more visually than you can see in a novel. You have to kind of use your imagination to visualize it.
Well, I think we also, we're also scolded, if I may say that, between the book and the film because, books can, as we kind of discussed before even recording with Stephen King, his books are so big, and you just need to have the patience and the time. But with a movie, you have to shorten it down for the time and everything else. So you missed out on really so much more maybe important information depending on how you want to look at that because I think we can all agree that there is some films that come out where we're kind of looking at it going, wow, like they took way too much out that the story just does not make any sense.
Yeah, it's just not the same as the book sometimes.
Exactly.
Like a lot of times when I was reading books, I thought, oh, I like the book a lot better because it gave a lot more details and all. But like Richard said too, the movie sometimes shows a lot more, not as much as the inner thoughts of the people along the way and then their journeys that they're going through.
Yeah. And I just want to touch on one thing with you, Richard, real quick too, because I believe Emma just joined us. But
wonderful!
But the one thing I just wanted to say though is So, how about what I would suggest, in my own opinion, is why not just make the first edition for your book for Champ Day, and then Richard, what you could do would just make a completely different book just for the behind the scenes, the making of, because then you could add as much as you really wanted.
That's a good idea. Maybe in the second edition we could have a section on the making of the film and talk about the journey of making the film, a word from the filmmakers about that. I love that idea. Now, we do want to do a series, so it's not just going to be a one-off, one book, one film. We want to, like Alice in Wonderland was 2 books, we want to have at least 2, and perhaps, like Harry Potter, even more. In fact, Emma, our leading lady playing Lucy, who just joined us, we were rehearsing the scene, her and I, last week, and Emma was saying, we need to have a part 2, a part 3, a part 4, a part 5. Can you hear us, Emma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, you are live on the show, Emma. This is Richard, and Kelly's on here, and the host, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
It's
Emma,
so good to have you on the program.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Yeah. So, Emma, if you don't mind me asking real quick, what made you want to get into acting?
Well, I started with a little theater school, and then I told my mom that I wanted something bigger. And I said to my mom, Mommy, I want to be on TV. And she was like, okay, let's start acting. And from back then, I was only 6, and now I'm 8. So I've been acting for 2 years.
Wow.
I love it. I just love it.
Now, Emma, real quick, is there any? Oh, I'm sorry, but is there any like advice you would give to younger kids, maybe around like your age, of how they can, start up their acting career, kind of like what you did?
Well, when I was 6, I took acting classes, and I'm still taking them. Because even when you're very professional at acting, you still have to do acting classes. And always listen to your heart, because your heart tells you what's most important.
I love that.
Good advice.
Very.
Wow, talk about wisdom. You have so much wisdom, Emma. And by the way, this was a big casting search all over. We had hundreds and hundreds, literally over 1,000 submissions, and many fine young actresses trying out. So Emma did amazing work, and we're rehearsing on Zoom right now. I think we have a few social media sites, facebook.com/champmovie, as well as on Instagram and Twitter. I think it's Champ Movie HQ, I think, for headquarters, Champ Movie HQ. But anyways, you can see a few moments of Emma's acting, her audition, and our working together. But it's so much fun to act with Emma. We had so much fun the other day rehearsing. That was a blast, Emma, rehearsing with you. And I think we're set to do it again tomorrow. But you're just so much fun to work with, Emma. You're a great actress.
Thank you so much.
And guess what? Emma, just tell them, Emma, what came in the mail for you last week. It relates to the film. You got a new friend that came in the mail.
Oh, yeah. So when I came home from school, there was this box laying on my porch. So I was like, Mommy, why is there a box on the porch? Did you order something? And my mom was like, no, I didn't. So then we took the box inside. We opened it. Before we opened it, we saw a sticker that said, from Port Henry, and with a picture of Champ. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is from Richard Rossi. And I was like tearing it open because I wanted to see what's inside. And inside was actually this little toy Champ. And now, trust me, I sleep with him every day.
Me too. I do too.
I'm so glad that you like that. And her mama videotaped it, so we got to see it on video, and it was just precious.
Yeah.
She was so excited.
Yeah, I was really, really excited. I couldn't believe what I got. I've always wanted that kind of toy of Champ and like see what he would really like. I also got a little button that said I love Champ, which is true. I do love Champ.
Great. Hey,
it also came with a little card.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you to all of you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for being in our movie. We can't wait to shoot with you this summer.
I can't wait to shoot with you guys, too. I want it to be summer like today.
I think we all do.
Now, by the way, Emma was on a shoot this week, weren't you, Emma?
Yeah, I'm coming back today.
Oh, well, have a safe trip home.
Thank you. We're actually traveling by car, so we are going to have a safe trip home because we're traveling in the car.
Oh,
Very
good. I
good.
know your mama and dad are good drivers.
They are.
No.
They've been driving a lot. They've been taking me places.
Well, there's a really good ice cream place in Port Henry, Stewart's, and I know that you like ice cream. So when we film, there is one condition, Emma, of this film, and that is that we have to go for ice cream at Stewart's Ice Cream sometimes when we're done shooting.
Sounds good. I'm gonna go there every day because I want to eat ice cream. I also wanted to say Lucy and Champ.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite ice cream?
I do. It's actually strawberry.
That sounds delicious.
But I want Champ on it.
You want Champ on it?
Yeah.
Champ ice cream?
Yeah.
So what flavor does Lucy like the best? Does she like strawberry too?
Probably the color green, which is minty, because I know that in the book she and her papa got the green sundae, Champ sundae.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, in the story, Paul, there's a Champ monster banana split, and her grandfather try to eat it, and they can't quite finish it. It's like a huge, and it's like in a Champ made with Champ eyes, and it's made to look like Champ, and it's like maybe 20 scoops, and they can never finish it. But
Oh, man.
towards the end, they're going to actually get some of their friends at Lucy's birthday, and they're all going to finally finish the Champ monster banana split as a group.
That sounds like a blast already.
Yeah. And since we're going to do a lot of takes, we're probably going to get to eat a lot of ice cream, too.
Yeah, that's great. Since you like ice cream, that's a way to say, hey, I love this job. I get to eat ice cream all day in the summer.
That's true. I could.
It's like me. Now, I have a bad habit, and I'm not recommending this for children or anybody, but I have a bad habit that I like cigars. And again, don't ever smoke cigars, Emma, and children listening. But I have a bad habit where I like cigars. So when I've had parts as an actor where my character has to smoke a cigar, and they're giving me an expensive cigar to smoke all day, I'm like, oh, what a job.
Yeah. Ew. My uncle used to smoke, but I told him stop it. And
Good.
Well, good for you. Well, I was thinking Papa might, because he lives out in the cabin in the woods, smoke a pipe, what they call a corncob pipe. But I don't think I'm going to do it because since this is a film that kids will watch, I don't want to set a bad example for kids.
Well, you just said it.
That's right.
Yeah. And just on the record, I actually quit smoking back in 2012.
Oh, wow. That's quite an accomplishment, Paul. How did you do that?
You ever heard of Chantix?
Chantix, is that the patch, or no?
No, it's like a pill. It's like a German drug or something like that.
Oh,
but you take one pill a day or something like that.
Oh, so it's like a prescription your doctor gives you that helps you get the nicotine maybe a little bit less or something to help you get off it.
Yeah, so the directions is every day you take one pill even while you're smoking. So basically the idea is you want to smoke for a week but while taking it. But then on the second week you need to not smoke and while taking it.
And eventually you wean yourself off.
Yep.
And you were able to do that.
Wow.
Well, Emma, I'm excited about having you act. I just love to see your enthusiasm. Your eyes are beautiful, and you're just so excited. It just bubbles out from you. And Mr. Rossi told me that you wanted to start filming as quickly as possible, and you just wanted to do series after series. So that tells me you really enjoy it.
I want to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
You hear that? We're going to do 20 of these Champ films, Kelly.
It looks like we're going to have to do a lot of writing.
Yeah, it'll be like Harry Potter, where the books and films just keep coming out. And Emma had a bunch of excellent questions. One of the questions was, when I go out in public and I'm famous for this film, will they call me Lucy or Emma? And I said, well, some kids might call you Lucy, but some people will know that you're Emma, too.
They will. My full name is now Emma Lucy Victoria Pearson.
Ah, you got Lucy in there. Wow. So Victoria's your middle name?
Yeah.
Pretty. That's pretty.
I like that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Hey, so Emma, what do your friends at school know that you've been selected for the role of Lucy?
Yeah, couple of my friends know, and they're like, "Oh, yay!"
Oh,
they're going to see you on the big screen.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Did you get to tell your teacher?
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you."
Oh.
I bet. Now, when you are in your classroom, Emma, do they ever do any classroom plays where you get to act?
Yes, we do. We just started it, and it's like, one of them is called Three Billy Goat Gruffs.
Okay.
And the other one is called Coyote and Rabbit.
Mhm.
We just started it on the day I was leaving, so I didn't get much time to practice, but when I come back to school tomorrow, I'm going to practice a lot.
Mhm. Well, I'm sure you'll just do a great job. I bet your teacher loves to, and your classmates love to have you act with them.
Yeah. 2 of my classmates were actually with me,
and
they were like, "Ooh, I'll let you be this." They almost let me be all the roles, but I was like, "You have to have some roles too."
They wanted you to do all of them.
Yes.
Well, that's a compliment to you, because they probably think you're really good if they want you to do more than, a bunch of roles in the same play.
Yeah. Then if I would have too many roles, the movie or the play would be only about me.
That's right. And you wanted your friends to be a part of it too, though, didn't you?
Yeah, because it's just fair. If I have too many roles, then they won't be in the play. That's never fair.
Yeah. Mr. Rossi and I are really glad to have you on board. Right, Mr. Rossi?
We sure are, and Paul's happy that you're able to come on the show today. And I know at Champ Day, one of our last days of shooting, we're going to go to a Champ Day festival, Emma, and you and I and Kelly can meet the fans of Champ, and also I asked Andrea, who is the head of Champ Day, if we could film a little footage of you and I in character as Lucy and Papa walking around having fun at Champ Day. And she said, yeah, that'll be okay. And she'd let me know the times we could do that. So we're going to get a little footage of you and I at a huge Champ Day celebration that can then be a part of the film.
I'd love to do that.
Yes, and they have Champ toys and Champ shirts and Champ everything.
Yeah, it's a yearly celebration in Port Henry. They have, because Port Henry is considered home of Champ, that little town is, because so many sightings have been right there in Boaggie Bay, which is a part of Port Henry there. And so every single year they have a big day called Champ Day.
Yeah, and Paul Joe here has had a couple shows that have talked about Champ Day recently. Paul?
I also read about the festival in the book.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, and me and Tessa are actually thinking about bringing our little one for the day to meet everybody as well.
Oh, that would be
that
wonderful
would be
to meet you in
nice.
person, Paul,
Yes.
and your lovely lady Tessa. Is their name right?
Yep.
And congratulations on your baby. Paul became a daddy recently and has a girl that's about to turn 2.
2 years old. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think your little girl, one of her favorite movies, might end up being Lucy and the Lake Monster, Paul.
Probably. Our little girl was actually in one of our little short horror films that we even filmed too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul makes movies too, Emma.
Ooh.
Yeah, but mine are more cheesy. Mine are more cheesy.
Emma was in, I think Emma was in some horror movies, weren't you, Emma?
No. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, maybe you'll be in one of Paul's horror movies down the road. But hey, you know what, Paul, when your little girl's a little bigger and she's watching Lucy and the Lake Monster and she says, I love this movie, Daddy, and you can say, well, the star of the movie, Emma Pearson, was on my podcast.
That's right. And she told you to do this if you want to start acting.
Well, you know, Emma, you remind me a lot of myself, Emma. When I was a little boy, you were working with you and rehearsing with you was really nice because it was almost like I felt like you were almost like the female version of me as a boy. Because when I was a little boy, I would sometimes drive my mother into trying to research things because I always had like so many questions about everything. You know, like when she told me about Santa, I said, well, he's old with a white beard. He can't do this forever. Who takes over? Can I take over and be Santa? Does his son take over? I always thought of things that other kids didn't think of. Well, when we were rehearsing, Emma, you're so smart. Emma had all these questions like, well, how did the Indian that fell in the lake that became Champ become so big? Because an Indian's body is not as big as Champ. And how big is Champ's body? Is it as big as a whale? Like, you're so smart, Emma, that you think of like 30 questions.
Yeah, I love questions. I ask too many questions a day.
No, well, you know what, Emma? I want you to keep asking questions. I think I told you about my daughter, Karis, that she got in trouble for asking questions, and one teacher got mad at her, and I told her, you know what? You keep asking all those questions because that's what smart, creative people do, is you always ask questions. And, you know, Karis ended up graduating the top school in the country in Princeton. And one of the things they liked about her was that she had a mind that could always think of questions no one else could think of. So you just stay just the way you are, Emma Pearson.
Question everything.
Yes.
I'll question everything. I'll even question my water bottle.
That is very questionable, isn't it? Now, Emma, real quick. So how did you even hear about Lucy and the Lake Monster to audition for it?
Well, my mom just told me there's this movie called Lucy and Lake Monster.
Now, Rich,
I was in Florida and I auditioned for it. And so when I auditioned for it, I was like, Mommy, I hope I get picked because I really, really want to be in it. And so my mom was like, okay, if they pick you, then you'll go in it. And I started like jumping up and down because I was so excited. What if they pick me? And now you did.
Now, tell me, Emma, when you first found out that you were the one out of all those other little girls that auditioned, when you found out that you were the one that was picked, tell us how you felt.
I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was just a dream. But I was very,
reality.
very, very happy.
Well,
I bet you were. Was your whole family like together when you found out? Was it like a big announcement? Like, guess what? We have an announcement to make.
No, it's just we were walking in Florida, with my mom, looking at the beach, looking at the beautiful, beautiful ocean. And she was like, Emma, they picked you. And then she called everybody.
It's so cool that you found out at the ocean because I love the ocean. And
I know, me too.
You know, one of the things with casting, because this will be my, fourth. Kelly, is it my fourth feature dramatic film? I think so, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, my fourth. But one of the things since I've cast the other films also, I always look with actors, the main thing I look at is the eyes, you know. Like, in fact, my last film was at a film festival in New York, and it won an award for most creative film. but one of the guy hosting the film, I think his name was, the film festival was Sean Patrick
Yes.
Green, I think, right, Kelly?
Yes.
But anyways, Sean's an actor, and I remember when I just said to Sean, I blurted out, "You have really nice eyes, Sean." And he said, "Oh, thank you. I never had a guy say that, but I know you're saying it as a director and casting person, so it makes me feel good." But I always look at the eyes of a person, right? When I look at headshots, when I look at auditions, because Grandpa used to say the eyes are the windows to the soul. And anyways, you have the most beautiful eyes. Like, you have so much expression in your eyes, Emma.
Thank you.
And your parents, both Emma's father and mother, also have really pretty blue eyes too.
Yeah, my sister, she does too. Every time when she's surprised, she opens her eyes really, really wide, and I do too.
Yes, there's so much in your eyes. Even when you open the Champ toy, your eyes got so big and expressive,
Yeah, they got really, 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 really wide because I was so surprised that it was actually Champ.
Yeah, and I think the audience can believe, like, you're my granddaughter because I have blue eyes also, and my mother, when my mother saw your eyes too, she said, "Oh, she has the expressive blue eyes like you," because I showed my mother a few of the, and I know Kelly felt the same, that you had really expressive eyes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
I bet. Do you get a lot of compliments on your eyes?
Yes. Everyone's like, "I love your eyes. I love your eyes."
Well, they are beautiful, but they're not the only thing that's beautiful about you. You've got a beautiful spirit and just great personality.
Yes. What
You're
you have on the
creative
inside
and
comes
expressive.
through. You have a very kind spirit, and all the goodness in you comes out, and you have a good heart, and that comes out through the eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul and the heart, and that all comes through. And I just know that people that see this film are just going to love you as Lucy. You're going to do a stellar job. You're a star radiating light near and far.
Yeah, I really hope so. Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to take over the show, because I know we've been asking questions to Emma too. I apologize, Paul, because you're the host. But
no, it's fun. It's I like it when people jump in too. So it doesn't
great.
have to be about me. So But no, the only other question I really had for Emma, well, two questions really, is for Emma is depending on the role, Emma, how do you prepare yourself for that specific type of role?
Well, me and my mom practice a lot, and I think about what I'm doing, and I get into the character.
There you go.
Like Lucy is.
Now, out of all the characters that you've had to act out, is Lucy your favorite, or at least one of your favorites?
Lucy is one of my favorites. She's actually my favorite. Because she's just like me. She has blue eyes, she believes in Champ, and I believe in Champ.
Oh, wow. Now, did you know about Champ before this movie, or did you learn Champ after, the audition?
I learned about Champ after this audition.
Oh, that's really cool. Are you a fan of dinosaurs? Do you like the idea of, possibly dinosaurs still roaming Earth even after, all of them have supposedly been extinct?
No, I'm not a fan of dinosaurs, but I am a fan of Champ. I found Champ videos on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard through a little birdie that you've been doing a lot of research since you started learning about Champ.
I've done a lot of research on YouTube, and I've actually saw that your family members saw Champ.
That's true.
It was like Kelly Tabor's family members seen Champ. I really, really, really want to see Champ.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Well, what we're hoping to happen is when we're filming and looking for Champ in the story, that we actually capture footage of Champ as we're making the movie.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
That would be surprising, awesome, incredible, and exciting.
So you must have read about the princess named Bawaga.
Yeah,
You did.
she actually,
Do you know the story about it?
yeah, so Champ turned into Champ, so because he pushed her in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and because Champ found out that she had a different boyfriend, so he pushed her in the lake, but then he got sad that he threw her in the lake, so he threw himself in the lake, but instead he turned into Champ.
Yeah, that's the legend.
Perfect. You just told the legend of Princess Bawaga perfectly, Emma. Oh, and by the way, when we go there, we'll have to show you there's a sign, and our friends who have been on Paul's show, Andrea and Cal, got some sort of signs recognizing the legend, and there's signs there that they have up now about that story, and they even have a statue, I believe, of the Indian princess there by the campground.
Yeah, it looked like it used to be an old, maybe a carved out of an old tree trunk.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like a big wooden carving.
Yeah, it's a wooden sculpture of Princess Bawaga right at the entrance to the campground at Bawaga Bay where the Champ sightings happen more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have been doing your research. I'm impressed.
Yep, I've been doing research since I was in Florida. I came back a couple of weeks ago probably. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done all the pictures and videos on YouTube. I looked through them, and I saw Champ. And I'm really, really excited to see him.
Well, I'll be looking with you.
Me too.
Yes.
Because I've looked for Champ. Well, when I was your age, I was looking for Champ, and I'm still looking. Because even if I've seen him once, I want to see him again and again and again and again.
Mm.
Do you feel that way too?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To go back, Richard, for a second, since we're talking about filming and stuff, so you guys are doing filming from July 6th to August 6th, since we're mentioning Champ Day and stuff. But you also were mentioning you guys were possibly looking for extras in your film. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have some scenes. We could use some help with cast and crew because this is sponsored by a nonprofit organization on a micro budget. So we're looking for volunteer cast and crew, and there are some scenes that will require extras. So people can contact us, at facebook.com/champmovie or at Instagram or Twitter. It's Champ Movie HQ for headquarters, Champ Movie HQ, because there's some scenes where they go in the Captain Bly's restaurant with the restaurant people, and there's scenes, we'll need a birthday party for Lucy where her friends are there, and so some kids, we'll need to get more kids, and also, her baptism in the lake, she gets baptized in the lake, and there's a celebration of Lucy and Champ and Papa when things work out real well towards the end. There's a few, anybody that's local to the area wants to get in touch is great, because people local to the area, the good thing about it, if they can help, is they already have a place to stay. They're right there. Because during the summer, a lot of people come to celebrate Champ and Champ Day and vacation in the cabin. So a lot of the housing is getting snatched up real quick. So it's a little hard to import people from other areas into there, because that a lot of the people, that's their time to make their money, and really they charge top rate for staying there. So anyone that's already there and wants to help in the crew or cast, please get in touch.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
In fact, I could give my email. It's richardrossilive@gmail.com. Richard, then ROSSI, live@gmail.com. But we actually could use help even on the crew, because we want to have a style where we capture things on multiple cameras. And so we have a great DP, Daniel Burke, but we could also supplement that with other cameras, because certain things that happen improvisationally or with Champ on the Lake, if we have a few angles shooting at once, is always good. So if anyone wants to volunteer, either helping with a camera, holding a boom pole, even being a runner to run and be like a PA production assistant and just literally run into town and get things we need, we could sure use a lot of support. So they could just email richardrossilive@gmail.com, because people locally helping would be really, really best, because, as I say, this is not like a urban metropolis where there's like tons of hotels and it's easy to get there and stay there. Finding housing is quite challenging. So anybody local to Port Henry, Crown Point, we could sure use any help that you're able to give.
And I'm really, really sorry, but my mom needs the phone.
Okay, well, it was great having you on the show, Emma.
Yes, it's so nice to hear you, Emma.
It's so nice to hear you, too, and she just needs the navigation.
Okay, that's important. Okay, let Mama get navigated, and you can listen to a replay of this. We'll put it online so you can hear yourself on this show when the link's available.
Thanks a lot for having me.
You're welcome, Emma. Blessings to you and your mama and your dad and your sister.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Emma.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 That was nice. She sounds like a real nice little girl, for sure.
Yeah.
But you guys got lucky, for sure.
We sure have. We sure have been very, very lucky. And even in the coverage of this, I mean, it's been on CBS TV, Kelly O'Brien on CBS TV, I think it's WCAX, I believe, in Vermont did a big story, and it's been front page in a bunch of the newspapers there. It's been front page a couple times in the Press Republican out of Plattsburgh, and front page on Sun Community News, Adirondack Almanac. It's just like to have all this coverage and pre-production. Normally it's very hard to get media interest because you're not making the film yet. But we have had so much wonderful coverage by the media, for which we're eternally grateful, that they've given us so much great, articles, and they're well written. All the journalists have been really written the story so well, also, and being able to come on a show like Haunted Vermont is so cool, because I love your podcast. I love haunted shows. My family, my mother never misses an episode of like the Haunted and the ghost shows and things like that. So, it's really cool to come on a show like yours that deals with the paranormal.
Yeah, I try to make it like a voice for everybody, really, and because my slogan has always been "Let's learn together,"
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that.
Because there's so much that I feel like we don't really fully understand, and it's always interesting to hear other people's theories as well. Kind of like as you were saying with and myself saying question everything. It's like somebody's gonna think outside the box more than this person and that person, and it just opens up doorways of other people to really think more of like, oh, like I never thought of it like that, and this and that. So it's always amazing to get different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
To continue just a little bit, so Richard, like, what? Just a real quick question is, what kind of got you into the filming business anyway? What made you want to film?
Oh, that's a good question. I was always interested in the arts, and that's one reason that Emma is so wonderful, because it's almost like going back to my childhood. Like her, as a little boy, I was very into the arts. I had all these puppets and did puppet shows and did magic shows. I learned magic from a well-known magician, and I played guitar professionally starting as a child. And so I was very into the arts. And then in my teen years, we went through a challenging time as a family. My father suffered a mental health crisis, bipolar disorder that became so severe he was in and out of the mental hospital. And so I tried as best I can. Occasionally I filled in for him on some gigs because he was a guitarist, and we dealt with it as best we can. But I got very into the church as a teenager in hopes to see my father get healed and get help, and I would even take him to the church and for prayer and things like that. And I got very involved in ministry work in my young adult years. So my focus became on trying to help meet the needs of people through my religious work. but then my creative interest emerged where I was writing songs, writing Christian songs and things. But then I made a film basically to help the church with outreach. I made a short film, and it was about healing. I was investigating if prayer has any effect on helping healing. It was a show called Quest for Truth, an expose of faith, healing, and exorcism, kind of exploring the paranormal world of faith, healing, and exorcism. But I made it as a church project. But what happened was there was a great director from India, Amin Q. Chaudhry, and he directed films with a lot of famous actors like Patrick Swayze and Sharon Stone and Sherilyn Fenn and James Belushi and Forrest Whitaker. He was working with all these well-known actors. And he was shooting in Pennsylvania, and I was editing my religious film with a professional editing company. I was meeting with the editor, and we were working on it together. And he happened to be editing his film there, and he said, "Wow, you tell this story." I mean, he goes, "Normally I want to be interested in this kind of, Pentecostal Christianity," but he said, "You're showing it in such a creative way that," he said, "I think you have a talent for filmmaking. If you're ever in Los Angeles, look me up." And he lived on Mulholland Drive near two of the greatest actors, Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando lived on Mulholland Drive around the corner from him. And so I would visit him in Los Angeles, and he started mentoring me, and he's like, "I think you have a talent for filmmaking," and he encouraged me into the arts. And so, there were some articles that said I went from scripture to script, because I started getting into more of my creative interest again and making films. And the first couple films I made was about a female evangelist from the 20s named Amy Simple McPherson. And then my second feature dramatic film was about my favorite baseball player from when I was a little boy. His name was Roberto Clemente. I made a film about his life. And then my third film, which came out last year, was called Canaan Land. And so it kind of emerged. I never really saw myself being a filmmaker. Although, interestingly enough, I've had some memories flood back to me recently. When I was in junior high, some friends of mine and we got a hold of a 16-millimeter camera that the school had for a project. We made a short film. And I'd forgot about that till recently, and I'd seen the name of one of my old junior high buddies, and I remember, oh my God, I made a film in junior high. And I was the main actor, and actually it was a couple of the other boys wanted me to be the actor, and it was funny. I did a lot of comedic stuff in the film. I don't know if a copy exists. I don't have one, and maybe the boys that worked on it with me, Philip and Drew, maybe they have a copy. I don't know. But it's interesting, to find stuff from way back when, like Kelly was real insistent that we try to find a show I was on when I was about 17. I was writing songs and doing music, and there was a profile on CBS Evening Magazine, and she was like, she was like determined that has to be found, because Kelly runs a fan club for my movies and music. My best friend John and I wrote songs in high school, and they did this profile about our friendship and the impact of our music on our fellow teens. And we actually found it, and we couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, it was quite moving to me to see my friend and I in this documentary about us when we were, 17 years old. And because my friend has since passed, John Walker, that I wrote the songs with. But so the creativity has always kind of been a thread through my life like that.
Wow. Yeah, and I actually was taking a look at that website there that Richard brought up there, Kelly. The fan club. It's very interesting from what I could see. You got a lot of stuff per se, and so I guess real quick is describe the fan club for those that might be interested.
Oh, well, it's richardrossistore.com is the website, and then mainly it just has a lot of links to where they can watch my stuff for free, different videos and different articles and music, and it has a really nice statement from Kelly, and it has some pictures of Kelly holding up some of my stuff.
Yeah, I promote him. I promote Richard and his works, which are a lot. And, with Canaan Land coming out last year, it was exciting because it's a work that he had worked on for years and years and years, on a micro budget. And, it was important for people to know, it's important to support indie films. Those are independent films because they don't have like the multi-million-dollar budget that all these Disney may have or other films in Hollywood, but Richard is determined. What he starts, he finishes, and he does a great job. And he's gifted. He's gifted in so many ways. I mean, he acts, he writes, he directs. He writes, like, he had 5 songs that were recognized. Up for up for nominations for Oscars?
Yeah, in Canaan Land, I wrote a lot of the music. Yeah, I wrote a lot of music for Canaan Land,
and he played the music. He didn't just write it; he played it. So he wrote the music, composed the music, played the music for certain scenes in the movie, and he wrote the script for the movie. He's like a one-man
show.
He's so amazingly talented, and so I promote his works and what he does, and I'm glad to. You know, he's been a dear friend for years and years, and he works hard, and I was just really excited last year that he was in the running for being nominated for Oscars, because, like, I was just so proud of him, because he has done so much, you know, with the talents that he's been given. And it's sad that sometimes people aren't recognized who I feel like should be, because I feel like he should have been right up there going up for the Oscar. I really do, Richard. I'm proud of your work, and I'm happy to promote it. Okay. And I'm really happy to be working with you, writing with you. I'm honored that you would even ask me to write with you and to direct with you. Because I've been a school teacher for over 30 years, and I love to write. I love to tell stories, and so he kind of tapped into what I really enjoy doing. And I don't know, I probably would have never done it on my own, but, like, with him encouraging me, being right there by my side, it's nice to have somebody to do it with when you've never done anything to this scale before. Because Richard, like I said, he had said, this is his 4th featured film, and so he's there. He kind of knows what to do along the way, and it's just nice to be able to have somebody, you know, that's knowledgeable about it and gifted to do that with along the way, even though he's 2,000 miles away in California. But it's been interesting, you know, the writing and the editing together, and, you know, over long distance. It's a part of my days I look forward to, because we get to be creative and come up with ideas. And if we read one part, we think, oh, what about this? You know, we can make it better doing it a different way. We work very well together. You know, we talk things over, what we think is best, and it's been very positive being able to be creative like this with somebody of his caliber. Thank you, Richard.
Well, thank you, because you're the inspiration. I knew nothing about Champ. You told me the stories, and Lucy is kind of loosely based or inspired on you as a little girl and your search for Champ. So thank you for being the muse and the catalyst to this wonderful children's project to help at-risk kids. And another brilliant idea that Kelly had was to put psychology and spiritual help into the story. In other words, when Lucy is having worry or anxiety or grief or trauma or bullying, it shows how she does it. So we're providing tools and help to children, you know, just like Mr. Rogers did and others. It's a children's work that will also help children cope with any kids that might make fun of them or tease them. Because in the story, Lucy and her grandfather are made fun of for believing in Champ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, that's the sad thing about movies nowadays. There's really not really like a subliminal message, as I may say, you know? It's just the story, the middle, the end, the twist, or just like something, you know? And then it's just, you kind of sit down afterward and go, well, we understand that this was supposed to be this way and that way, but then you start to watch other films, and it may fall into the category of like, we sort of like we've seen this before, so we kind of know what's going to be happening here. But when it comes to like emotional, we'll just say trauma for the word right now, because maybe I'm trying to think of something else. But like, as you're putting it, with being the bullied, harassment, and all this, you know, it does kind of traumatize you. It does spark a fire inside kids sometimes. Like, I can relate. I'm part deaf, and I used to be bullied on all the time because I couldn't hear normal and stuff. So it kind of sparked the fire with me of like of the fact of maybe like I won't be perfect, but it's almost like it it just changes you, I guess. Like it's really hard to explain, I guess.
Yes, well, I'm sorry you had to go through that bullying, and children can be so mean and cruel. And as a teacher, Kelly's been a teacher over 30 years. She's won awards for teaching, which she doesn't like me saying and embarrasses her. But, she's really been able to help put into the story things that help kids. You've really been able to think through the kind of things children go through because you've seen a lot of stuff over 3 decades of teaching, Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, children go through a whole lot of things, and sometimes it's they're coming from all different backgrounds, so sometimes children need to be helped along how to deal with certain things in a positive way that will be beneficial to them and not hurtful or harmful, and so that they have good memories and not traumatic memories. And I like, as I'm teaching, I like to keep my eye on what's going on and stop problems before they happen. If you see something like going in a certain direction, or to try to protect the kids, because really I want children to be children for as long as they possibly can. I don't want them to have to grow up and face the difficulties of adulthood too early. And I know some of that's out of my hands because of some of the things that they've already gone through in their homes, or unfortunately, but I try to make school a happy place for them, a place where they can feel, safe and loved and cared for, and just learning to deal with difficult issues like, what do you do? What's the right thing to do when someone bullies you? And because sometimes an adult's not always going to be there, so what's the best thing to do that's helpful and not harmful? And hopefully when children read it, they'll pick up on these little things, and it'll help them. If something happens to them in their lives, they'll be able to respond appropriately in a positive way.
Well, I appreciate everything that you've done for the past 3 decades, like Richard was saying. And I know it's really tough, too, because, sometimes with teachers, you got to really think, too, of what can I really do without the parents coming after me as well,
Yeah, I found that it's, I've been blessed with working in a beautiful school district, and the parents are really, when they know that you're looking out for the best interest of their children or their child, they're going to be behind me. And they know, personally, I've never been able to have children myself, and so I've always looked at my students as kind of like my own, how I would treat my own students. And if I did have children, I would want a teacher to be like that with mine. I'd want them to, treat them as if they were their own, and I've always tried to look at it that way and see it that way, and I convey that to my parents, and we've had really good relationships over the years, and I find them to be very supportive, and things come up, and they know that I'm looking out for their child, and you never know what's going to happen in a classroom. Anything could happen at any time, because when you have sometimes 25 or more students in a classroom, you never know, because there's so many different little personalities in there, and so you're always making decisions and trying to make the best decisions you possibly can in the moment, and as things happen and go on, and overall it's been very, very good, and I hope, I know that I've got students that still are in contact with me, that in fact some of them are older now, married, some of them have children, and I've never, well, I guess I have taught a child of a child that I've had. But it's just exciting to see how those kids have grown up. They come back and see me, some of them, and they tell me, Ms. Cromer, I met a story. Just this week, I had one student that I had probably close to 25 years ago, He emailed. We're friends on Facebook. Him and his wife live in Texas now, and he sent me a picture that he saw. He said, "Miss Cromer, I thought about you, and when I saw this picture, and it was on the side of a U-Haul, and it was it was a picture of Champ on the side of a U-Haul with trivia. Did you know that there are over 300 sightings of the Lake Champlain monster in Lake Champlain that borders Vermont and New York?" And he said, "I couldn't help but to think of the wonderful fourth grade year I had in your classroom." I mean, this is a child that I had years and years ago, and he still remembered my Champ stories. That he took time to take a picture of the side of that U-Haul and send it to me. And, I haven't seen him in years, but it just goes to show, like, what you do in a classroom as a teacher really can make a difference in the lives of students. So this case, I was thrilled. I couldn't wait to show Richard. Richard, you'll never guess what I got today from somebody. It's a picture of Champ on the side of a U-Haul, and he's in Texas when this happens. And, I mean, for him to even think back to his fourth grade, I learned about that from my fourth grade teacher, and for him to take the time to send me that, of the good memories that he had about Champ, I just thought that was really special.
And it's interesting. It shows the power of, like, oral tradition of storytelling. Like, a lot of stories, we're writing it down now. We have a book and a film, but for decades, these were oral tradition stories she told in a class, but the kids remember them for decades. That showed me the power of this story that we're telling. It's, even like the biblical stories were like that. For, like, the Gospels were written, decades after the events of Jesus' life, but for decades they were shared orally in the church, the apostles telling the stories to their disciples who told them to their disciples, and many stories are like that. They're passed along, and for 30 plus years, this story of the little girl looking for Champ was a story that Kelly told to students, and she's had graduates from Harvard and Ivy League schools come back 3 decades later want to hear the stories again. So thankfully we're able to get them written down. I mean, like, when you asked Paul about me getting into filmmaking, I made that film about healing and exorcism for the church way back in the early 90s, but people still are always ordering it on Vimeo and re-encountering it. But had I not filmed that, I mean, I filmed a healing service we did praying for the sick, but had I not filmed that, it wouldn't still be touching people, because now we're actually going to be putting it into a book in a film form where they can get the book on Amazon when it comes out, or they can see the film streaming or in a theater. And so I'm really glad that the power of Kelly's oral storytelling will be now, for generations to come, can experience it in a novel and films.
Yeah, and that's basically what you're trying to do, sort of, what maybe you can elaborate on. So what, between you both, really, is what makes you want to shine more light on Champ anyways?
Well, it's always been special to me. All my life I've been very interested in it. And, this is something that I told some people, but, like, everybody that looks at me or knows me in my hometown probably didn't know that about me. This is something that was always just very special to me, that something, like when I'm going to Port Henry or going through the rock cuts on the way, I don't know if you've ever been that way, but the lake is real close to the road, and it's automatic. I automatically start looking for him because it's a close-up view, and that's in Boaggie Bay is where a lot of the sightings have been. And to see the water melting, or the ice melting from the winter, and now it's all open water, I'm thinking, okay, now where is he? Where's he right now? I'm thinking, when's he going to start? And I noticed, like, we've even, in my time with my students, like, I've taken pictures of the sighting sign and we've done graphs together. We've used it for math. And okay, so let's do a graph. How many sightings were in January? How many were in February? And we noticed there were more sightings in June and July than there were in other months. And why weren't there any sightings in the winter? Well, it's because the lake was frozen over. So we talked through all these kinds of things. Why do you think why do you think Champ is sighted more in the summertime? And said well, probably because there's more people out on the water in the summertime. And so we did graphs using that, just having fun with it and coming up with their ideas. Why do you think there were more sightings certain times of the year? And so that brought in, the weather conditions, the climate, and it's just making learning fun that way. But those kids, they loved it. They thought it was great learning about Champ. even though that was in South Carolina, like a lot of people, we learned about, a little bit about Lake Champlain, talking about explorers and Samuel de Champlain, and who was a French explorer, but like to find out about Champ too, that in his log, in the captain's log, when he kept notes and all, he had sketches of Champ, and this was back in the 1700s. And so I kind of always brought Champ into the picture somehow.
Oh wow!
So,
yeah,
Richard.
Well, I've made 3 feature dramatic films, and I guess they would be like PG-13-ish films, and probably more fans of my films of those films are adults, although children like the character I played in my last film, Brother Billy, because he has this gold glittery jacket, and he's kind of a character, a con artist, but he's funny, because some kids actually wanted the gold glitter. They're selling my jacket in all these stores now. That's called the Brother Billy Richard Rossi gold glitter jacket, but some kids actually like wearing it. But for the most part, my prior 3 films weren't really for kids. They were more adult storylines, not adult like X-rated, but more. They weren't really geared towards children. And so I really wanted to do something for children. I had a health crisis last year and had multiple surgeries, and I was thinking, my dad at his funeral, when my dad died, we had a funeral card printed up, and it had a quote from Emerson about, if you've done something for children, or if you've won the love and respect of children, you've truly lived, because my father taught a lot of children how to play guitar. And I really, I've lost a lot of people close to me, not to be too morbid, but like almost all the musicians that I work closely with have passed. My youngest brother sadly died of an overdose of fentanyl, and he was the main collaborator on producing records and playing with me on the songs I write. And then my percussion people I work with the most, my friend Nathan, who was Stevie Wonder's percussionist, he passed, and the drummer played on most of the records with me, Mike, he passed from COVID, and my songwriting partner, John Walker, passed, and on and on. I just lost so many people, and I was thinking about legacy, and that I've been fortunate enough to survive some of my health crisis recently, and so I thought to myself that I've had this desire to do something for children, and I thought, oh my God, this is the perfect. I don't know. There's just something about the plesiosaur, the lake monster, that it's just so primal in drawing people's interest from children to adults. It's just so interesting because it's like your show, Paul. It's it's kind of folklore. It's a question mark. Do these things exist? It's cryptozoology, pseudoscience to some, but there's something childlike about it that also, like, things. I remember as a little boy, anything that was kind of like paranormal is a phrase. I know your show talks about the paranormal, and the word para is a prefix in the Greek. And the Bible, the New Testament was written in Greek. Like the Holy Spirit is called the Parakletos, which means to come alongside. Or paramedical means like to come alongside the doctors and aid them and supplement their work in ways that isn't like the doctor's job. Like paranormal in its more literal meaning is things that are not solid evidence science, but they're kind of in our world, and they're alongside us, and they're alongside conventional science, but we haven't figured it out. And those kind of things to the child inside are so interesting. Like, as a boy, I was so into, reading about Bigfoot and the Bermuda Triangle and UFOs and And in fact, I had an experience. My brothers and I seen some UFOs when I was a kid, and so anything like that is so fascinating. In fact, religion, I guess, in some ways falls in that category. I became very interested in religion and miracles, and the childlike part of me, the childlike faith part of me, thought, well, Jesus healed people, and Jesus did these miracles, and could that happen today if people had faith? So there's a part of us that this story taps into that is so universal, the child in all of us. So it's not just a kid's film. Yes, it is something for children, and I want to do a film that children will love, and I believe children will love this. But also, I think we're going to do it in a way that thinks deeper, and we want to do this in a way that it becomes a film that adults love too.
Yeah, I mean, all of this even just sounds like great, and I just really hope that when it does get released, not only does it receive well, but I mean, hopefully, like Emma said earlier, she wants 20 more films.
Yeah, I just love that. I love that she's. And the great thing is that Emma being so young that we could do those too. You'd see her grow up through the series, just like the Harry Potter kids. They kind of grew up through the series.
Yeah, same with like Stranger Things. We saw them even kind of young, and now look at them now. But real quick, for people listening too, I don't even think we kind of explained. So, I'll read this anyway on IMDb. So for people listening, that are wondering what we're talking about with Lucy and the Lake Monster. So Lucy and the Lake Monster is the story of Lucy, an orphan girl who believed in Champ, the legendary sea serpent of Lake Champlain. Lucy and her grandpa, Papa Jerry, look for Champ despite mockery and mercenary forces opposing them. So, as we were kind of talking too, like with the whole, they're getting bullied because they believe in Champ and all that, there's always an outcome and it kind of falls into the cryptozoology where I would say it as a skeptic where, seeing is believing. And in this case, hopefully the people of Lucy and the grandpa there will find the proof they need so they don't have to be mocked anymore.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because in the older church denominations like Catholic, Episcopal, Orthodox, they have the readings throughout the year to go through the Bible, all laid out of what scripture they read. But it's interesting, this morning's reading is from John, I think, 21. But anyways, it's about skepticism and belief because it's a story of Thomas, and it says that Jesus appears to the disciples, but Thomas did not happen to be there. And so when they tell him, Jesus who died rose again, we saw him, and he appeared to us. And Thomas says, unless I see proof, I don't believe that. I have to see, the wounds in his hands and side, and so you hence have the expression a doubting Thomas, someone that needs evidence, right? And then in the story it says that Jesus appeared to Thomas and showed himself to him, and gave him proof. And doubting Thomas is sometimes looked at negative, but I don't think he should be demonized as all negative. He was just saying that he wanted some evidence, and so in the story, like, there's good people that support Lucy and Papa, but then there are some that you read of the IMDb synopsis said there's mercenary forces, like we have some bad guys that just want to capture Champ and make money off him. And then we have some that mock Lucy and bully her and say she's a baby and she's stupid to believe in Champ. And so yes, there's some real opposition that Lucy has to overcome, huh, Kelly?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, now, I guess real quick before we, finish this. So you guys had a Indiegogo to try to help raise some funds. I know you only made about 10% and stuff, but I guess for the future, are you guys planning to, do like another campaign to help raise more funds? Like, what are you guys trying to do now to possibly get funds, or how is that going to go about, I guess?
Well, that's so kind of you to ask. Yeah, our Indiegogo just ended last night, and raised a little over $5,000. So we are going to write for grants, some arts grants, but also if anyone wants to donate, it is tax deductible. Eternal Grace, the nonprofit organization, it's what's called a 501c3 organization to tell stories in a way that lift people up. And so they could go to PayPal.com, even though Indiegogo ended. If anyone wants to send a tax-deductible donation at PayPal.com, they can just send it to the email eternalgracechurch@yahoo.com. Again, that's eternalgracechurch@yahoo.com. And there's perks if they give, like we thank them in the film credits and on IMDb. And, there's other perks, like if someone gives, I think it's over $25, we'll send them an advanced look at the first few chapters of the book, and then I think at $100 we send them we'll send them an autograph signed copy of the novel when it comes out. So there's different thank yous, but at the very minimum, whatever people give, we'll be thanking them on social media, and in the credits of the film, anybody that gives even $1 or more they can do it at PayPal.com to eternalgracechurch@yahoo.com. And writing for grants is something I haven't done before, but it's an interesting process. I've been working on that the last few days to write for some arts grants also.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is maybe what you can do for me, Richard, afterwards, is just send me the message of the email, and I can just put it into the show notes if you would like to help out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. And I guess my last question for you both really is, so after this Lucy and the Wake Monster is all said and done, after the books and stuff too, or even while the books are even coming out, is there any other projects that you both have in mind for the future?
Part 2.
Yes, part 2. Well, we already have the story for part 2 we're working on, so there's some wonderful things that will happen in this next book after the first book, and so a few of those secrets I shared with Emma, and I discussed also rehearsing. But it gets better. I think, like the Harry Potter series, as you get more and more into the series, it's going to get better and better, because the first one sets a wonderful stage in Lucy and Papa's journey, but the second one, there's some wonderful twists as well that happen. And I think good writing and stories, a twist is very important in good stories that you don't see coming. And like in Twilight Zone was a really great TV show, a vintage TV show. But one of the reasons that Twilight Zone is so esteemed as good storytelling, hosted by Rod Serling, is every Twilight Zone episode had amazing twist to it. And so, we are working on the sequel, and we already know like 3 major twists that will happen in the story.
Oh boy. Well, finally, I guess, so where can people keep up to date for knowing the release dates and everything else that comes along with the book series as well?
Well, my email, if anyone wants to email, is richardrossilive@gmail.com. But as far as the social media, there's a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the film and book series. The Facebook is facebook.com/champmovie. And the Instagram and Twitter is ChampMovieHQ, right, Kelly?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Well, once again, thank you both so much for your time and stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing the final product once it's out and about. And it's probably kind of early to say, but do you guys kind of have like a sort of an idea of when you guys would like to release this next year? Like, I'm assuming spring, summer?
Yes. We hope to have the first book ready for Champ Day, which is August 6th, so that we can have copies that people can get it and we can sign it for them. As far as the film, we'll still be working on it in the first half of, we'll be working on it here as we are the second half of this year, in the first half of next year. So we hope to have it more like in the second half of next year, the film come out. Now, who knows, maybe we'll be able to have the first cut of the film ready by Champ Day 2023. Who knows, maybe we can show it there, because I know this year at Champ Day they're going to show some movies. And so that would be wonderful, I think, if we could have it for Champ Day also maybe next year, next 2023. What do you think? Do you have any projection? What are your thoughts on all that, Kelly?
Well, yeah, obviously the book's going to come out before the film. The only thing really holding the book up is we wanted to have some pictures of, like in the book, of the actual filming that takes place. So the book will be done before the film. But hopefully within, I would say maybe in a year or so. Richard, you probably will know the date better because you've been through this before, the process that we have to go through. But I would agree with maybe it'd be nice to have something maybe by next Champ Day.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and Richard, to touch on what you were saying about Champ Day doing movies, yeah, they're going to be showing the Monster on the Ocean Floor or something like that a day before Champ Day. They're going to be showing it right at the Bowaga Beach, actually. So
yes.
So I actually made a comment when I was talking to Andrea and Kyle where I was like, that's the perfect time to go and camp out and watch a movie on the beach, and then you can get your I Camp with Champ button from homeofchamp.com, and then you can just wake up and already be at Champ Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we just love everyone and thank everyone for their support. It's been so supported and embraced by the people there locally, both wonderful writers like, Laura McKinstry's done some wonderful articles in the front page of the paper there, and Kelly O'Brien with CBS did some great reporting on it, and has been doing did an interview with us, and the local press has been wonderful, and also they're wanting to keep following up, which is wonderful. Like in the news business, they'll talk about second day lead or third day lead on a story where they'll not just do one report, but they'll follow up, and so the press there wants to follow up when we're shooting and do a story in the summer. So we've been really just so lucky because I know from making films and I have friends that have been editors at the different newspapers like the LA Times and different papers, and they say that they're so besieged by people wanting to sell their books and films and things, and so reporters get thousands of emails from market me, talk about my project, and so for a film that's not even finished to have all this wonderful coverage, I don't take for granted how fortunate we've been and how lucky we are because I've had friends get mad at me and cuss me out, good-naturedly, but I won't say it on the air because obviously kids are interested in this project, but they've asked me, who is your bleeping publicist? Because you seem to get in all the papers and everything, but I just feel quite fortunate, and sometimes I tell them I guess God's my publicist because, you can't control what the media is interested in or what they cover. You can send them a news release or pitch them or whatever, but I feel quite fortunate that people like yourself and others in the media have invited us to share. I don't take it for granted because, you can have the best thing in the world, but if no one helps you market it and share it, Stephen King, we mentioned him earlier, he did an experiment to kind of prove how marketing and who the press covers is so critically a factor. And because Stephen King is so well known as a writer, just his name on a book will sell copies. So he wanted to do an experiment, and he wrote some books under a pseudonym of a fake name, and then tried to get the press to cover it and review it and give him attention. And, it didn't sell. It did very poorly. And he was making the point that, who the press decides to market and cover is so important to art and what gets out there. And then when he changed his name back to Stephen King on the book, lo and behold, it was written about and sold copies, right? So, like I say, I've had friends. One guy even got a little miffed about it that I know, a friend of mine, and he said, seems like you guys, he made a smart remark. It's like you guys, just go out for coffee and, you get a story about your project. And I've sent them press releases every day, and I can't get coverage, So, we are very, very fortunate and thankful for that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll Google Lucy and the Lake Monster, and I'll see more coverage, and I'll contact Richard and I'll say, "Have you seen this?" And he'll say, "No." And there's like another newswire or something with it being
Nice.
published online, and it might be some, I don't know. It's like spreading, which is exciting for us because it helps us. We want people to know about it. We want people, we're excited that word is getting out because we want kids to be excited about it. We want it something to be known and desired to read and watch. We want it to
ultimately the quality we want to write. We want to do very quality writing. We want the novel to be we're doing the very best we can to write it the best we can and make the movie the best we can, because ultimately the quality of the work is what survives. It's I had a friend that was a big pop star in the 70s who's passed away, and he had said, he became a bubblegum star because he was on TV with a bubblegum show, and a lot of his people running his fan clubs have been giving a lot to the film David Cassidy because they love Lucy and the Lake Monster, but he wanted to be more of a rock and roll guy, but he was thrust into the role being a teen idol because he was the star of this TV show back in the 70s, Partridge Family. But when he ultimately knew that, okay, I'm singing these bubblegum songs and I've become a teen idol, even though it wasn't his first choice, he did his very best. He said, you know what, I'm going to make the best pop music, the best bubblegum songs. I'm going to sing them the best I can and have the best instrumentation. Like, he really was a pro, and he made it the best music that he could, and it was like the best bubblegum ever, right? But he said it's the work that survives. You got once you come down to it, you have to make the songs the best they can be so that people will listen to them, right? So ultimately, like, we don't take it lightly. I mean, we labor over every word as we're going over this book. We want it to be like as well written as it can possibly be, because that's what stands the test of time. Is like once the book and film are out there, that's what's out there for the rest of the time. Is how good is it? Like if the acting's bad or the writing's bad, people are gonna people are just gonna say, oh, it's a schlocky, crappy movie, right? And we're doing the best we can on a modest budget, a micro budget. And I don't put anyone down whose films might be schlocky, because to me, like anyone that finishes a film of any kind, that's such an accomplishment because it's so hard to do. But we do want to do the best quality we can, because, I mean, why is Alice in Wonderland still around? And I started a musical 100 years after it was written, that ended up inspiring me to want to do a children's classic. But why did Alice survive so long? I mean, like, it's such an amazing piece of literature, So, like, if we do a poor job, it won't have much lasting fruit. I mean, if it touches one person, it's worth it. But, like, if we do a really good job from an artistic standpoint, then it has a chance of not just reaching this generation of children, but hopefully generations to come.
Definitely.
Well, I respect both of the idea here, and you know what? Just to put it on the record, I bet my cheesy movies will not even compare to what you're going to be making. So mine are cheesy. Mine is supposed to just to have fun. Mine is also a nod to what Alfred Hitchcock did in his movies. Oh
well, I would love to see your movies because I love Alfred Hitchcock, and I love a lot of what people call cheesy movies. One of the guys that really inspires me is Ed Wood, because Ed Wood movies are considered cheesy, and some people call them the worst movies ever made. But I respect Ed Wood so much. In fact, Johnny Depp did a great job portraying him in a film that Tim Burton directed. But Ed Wood got 7 movies made, and the guy was so poor, he at times didn't even have a telephone or a roof over his head or a car to drive. But, he just didn't give up. And, people put him down, oh, his movies were cheesy. But you know what? The people that criticize him, they didn't make 7 movies in Hollywood, but Ed Wood did, So, like, even if you think your movies are cheesy, the fact you finish them is such an accomplishment.
Well, the way I tell people, too, is if you don't like my movie, you go out there and you make one.
Exactly. Yeah, like Like, for instance, I made a movie about my childhood hero, Roberto Clemente, and I raised online crowdfunding about $5,000. And but you know what? Like, a lot of people liked it, but there were people that put me down. Oh, this is so low budget. You don't. It's not like the Jackie Robinson movie. You don't have all the 50,000 extras in the baseball stadium, and it looks like you shot this at a school field that wasn't the actual pro major league field. And like, they pick apart all these things that were low budget about it, some of the critics. But you know what? I'm like, hey, I'd like to see you make an epic baseball movie with $5,000. You know?
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no. So I'll just share it real quick. I don't think I've actually really mentioned my films on any recent podcast in a long time.
Please, if you have any links where I can see them or buy them, I would love to see them.
They're actually on YouTube, free to watch. So,
oh, great.
So, but anyway, so basically, my two short films, just to kind of mention it for those that may be new listeners too. So my two short films are based on urban legends here in Vermont. So the first one that we made was called The Passenger, Vermont Urban Legend, where it's about this ghostly hitchhiker lady that people have supposedly have seen driving down this road here in West Rutland, known as Marble Street. So anyway, the idea is people would drive by, they would see this ghostly hitchhiker, and you know, they would stop and ask if she need to ride to wherever she need to go. And so she would get into the car, and when they pull up to wherever she need to go, you know, she's already gone. You know, she like vanished. And so anyway, the idea of my film is, because I've heard different, like with any type of, you know, urban legend, there's always different varieties, because people either add to it, exchange something, or etc. So anyway, one version of the tale is, if you see her with a baby, she's basically in a good mood, basically, the idea. The second way is, if she doesn't have a baby, she's not really going to interact with you. So, and if she does, it's not much, I guess, right? But then, when you look at where this road is connected to, and the other ghost story that is actually on the same road. So there's technically like three things going on here. But anyway, so one of it is, this same road is connected to a town that is supposedly called the Ghost Town, but they call it the Whipple Hollow town, where supposedly back in the marble industry days, people packed up all their stuff and left, like no explanation. So it just became like a ghost town. So anyway, that was part of it, where, okay, so this ghostly hitchhiker, was she maybe part of that town? And then the other interesting ghost story around the same area is that we have like what they call the West Rutland Marsh, so it's like a swampy area, but supposedly people have claimed to have heard ghostly voices over the waters of the swamp.
Mm.
Wow, that is so cool. What did you shoot your films on, Paul? What kind of cameras did you use?
For the flashbacks parts, because I did kind of do like a little flashback story, that was actually shot on my Samsung Galaxy S9. And then otherwise, I used a video camera, which is actually drawing a blank on me right now. I want to say it's like a Canon or something, but that doesn't even sound right.
Well, that is so cool. Wow. Well, I love it. I can't wait to watch your films.
Yeah, and then the second one is basically is an urban legend about we have supposedly a monster in the Glastonbury Mountains area where they call it the man-eating stone. So that's basically what the second one is about. It's about this unfortunate hiker that meets his demise with a man-eating stone.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, maybe we'll work on a film together. Either you help me with Lucy, or maybe I'll act in one of your films. You never know.
Exactly. But I mean, I'd like to help either way. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm helping spread the word of Lucy and the Lake Monster.
You sure are. You sure
and
are.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
No, you're both are very welcome. And what I would like to even add to even wrap this up is when it is out and stuff, I'd like to have both of you guys come back so we can really dive into it a little bit more.
Oh, great. Yeah, that'll be great because we can promote screenings. We want to do some screenings, particularly in that area, Vermont and New York, where the story is taking place. I think it'd be wonderful to do some like big screenings at theaters or schools or churches, wherever we can get a big building and like actually do like a live appearance, have Emma there and cast members, and have like a really nice big screening party, maybe do a Q&A after, that sort of thing. So we could promote like appearing there locally would be nice.
Exactly. I mean, I know Vermont doesn't really do anything like Champ Day or whatever, but I mean, we could figure out something. But as for like New York, Champ Day would be the perfect opportunity for you as well.
Yeah, and maybe there's, in the Vermont side, there's maybe like a movie theater, that we could do it at or something,
Yeah, we got quite a few. I know my local movie theater has not opened up ever since COVID started, so I don't even know if we're even going to see that opened up again for a while.
Yeah, hopefully they can get going again, and I can look for a Bernie candy bar, because I promised my son I would get him a Bernie bar, because he liked Bernie Sanders, but hopefully I can get a Bernie bar if I visit Vermont for my son.
Yeah, I bet you would. I don't know how hard that would be, but I mean, there's some.
I think they're on Amazon.
Oh boy, everything's on Amazon. But no, I do appreciate both of you guys and your time, and like so once again, Richard, just to share. So where can people keep up to date with your movie?
Yes, Facebook.com/champmovie. And on Instagram and Twitter, just search Champ Movie HQ, and HQ stands for headquarters, Champ Movie HQ, on Instagram or Twitter, and on Facebook, facebook.com/champmovie.
Well, thank you so much, Richard and Kelly, for your time, and for everybody else. Like I've said it before, keep your eyes open, because you just never know if you're going to stare at the lake one day and you're just going to see Champ pop up.